Preacher here. This is the day in the life of a biker. By now you should know I love to get out and ride. It's always a good day for a ride, always good weather. Well, almost. I thought I was going to get out and ride yesterday, and I woke up with an insane migraine. Spent almost the whole day down. The kind where you feel like you're just going to die. Yeah, you don't want those kind of days. I don't wish that on anybody. So I didn't get to do the activities that I was hoping to, or the kind of ride I was hoping to go on. But man, I was sitting around thinking lately, it's January, and here in the valley, we used to do the polar bear run every January. We would ride up to the mountains, go up to Jamestown and sign up at the Harley dealer and go on a polar bear run. The awesome thing about that ride was, it didn't matter if you were an outlaw or if you were an independent, or whether you rode a Harley or whether you rode a crotch rocket. What you got to see when you got out there was real hardcore bikers. People who weren't afraid to ride in the rain. They weren't afraid to ride in the ice. They weren't afraid to ride in the fog. And I'll tell you, I used to take my club on that ride every year. That was something that I looked forward to. I made sure I had a decent riding bike for the polar bear run every January. That Harley dealer since went out of business. I tried doing the polar bear run a year or two after, but I'll tell you something. Somebody needs to bring that run back around so that those of us who love to ride can get to know those of us who are just as crazy as the others. Man, rides like that, those are the type that legends are made of. Anyway, enough rambling about polar bear rides. What it does is it reminds me that we as people should be getting together. We should be getting together with people who we can relate with. You know, that's why as Christians it's important to get together with other Christians. There's a lot of people who say, I can have a relationship with God and I don't need church. I can just do me and God and that's that. But the Bible, if you truly read it, encourages us to help one another along, to run a race faithfully. You know, Hebrews 10:25 says that we shall not forsake the gathering of one another as others do. Why is that? That's because when I'm struggling, somebody may need to put me in check. Or when you're struggling, somebody may need to put you in check. Or where you're weak, somebody else may be strong. And where that person is weak, somebody else may be strong. And together, you're really strong. You know, another thing is the Bible says where two or more are gathered there in my name, I am there also. You know, when we get together and we're giving God glory, we're in the presence of the Lord. And so don't tell me that you can do being a Christian all by yourself. Yes, there's some points where it's good to get out and have some solitary time in prayer and reflection, but you got to think about this. Jesus brought up the 12 disciples in a group. He taught them in a group. He taught them how to hang out in a group. The model he gave us was to be there for one another, to be there with people that could help us along our path. You know, when you look at the early apostles, like Paul and Silas, and, you know, they go out together. Jesus sent the disciples originally out 2 by 2. We're not to be a Lone Ranger Christian because we can easily fall that way. We can easily slip away, or we could be put in a really bad spot. And we need to be there for one another. We need to trust God and help others. If Paul did it all by himself, he would have never ever raised up a Timothy. Then what would the next generation have had? They wouldn't have had that guidance, that help. Not at all. They wouldn't have had that wisdom to share that Paul had passed down. Sure, they would have had his writings, but not somebody that had been handpicked and taught and shaped. And as Christians, we're to do that. We're to raise up the next generation. We're to bring up a child in their way so they never depart from the Lord. And that's something I think too many people are forgetting about today. We need to be there, not just for one another, but to help those who are a little newer in the race than we are out. So next time you stop and think, well, I'm at such a point in my walk with God so mature that I can do it by myself. Stop and think about this. If you're at that point where you're that mature, maybe now's the time for you to be sharing God's love with somebody else. Maybe now's your point to have God help you with somebody else. You know, even in the motorcycle clubs, we all bring up the next generation. Everybody was a prospect at one time. And every new prospect, we teach, we shape, we grow. Every prospect out there has an individual sponsor. And that sponsor gets to impart his knowledge and wisdom to this up-and-coming prospect. And that's because you want somebody to have the history of the club world. You want somebody to know how to handle themselves in a situation, to be there even when you ain't. You want somebody you can trust. And so that's why it's important to be there for one another, to help people learn, to help people grow, to help people along their way. And sometimes I think that gets forgotten. It gets thrown to the wayside, and it happens a little too much. Anyway, hope you guys are all having a good day. Just a little bit of food for thought. I'm on a ride rant. Talk to you guys later. Be blessed.